So please welcome to the stage, Lýdia Machová.
Hi everyone, hey guys. Before I start, I have a little geography test for you. Now, this is the blind map of Europe. And the question is, how many of you think you could place the Slovak Republic on this map? Raise your hand if you think you could do it. Okay, shall we test it? Yeah, I'll help you. Were you right? Of course you were, right? So, this is the Slovak Republic, and it's not Czechoslovakia. Okay, we partied with the Czech Republic 26 years ago, even though some parts of the world haven't really noticed. And it's not Slovenia. That's a whole different country way in the Balkans. Okay, Slovakia is an independent state. It's part of the European Union. We use the euro. 5 million proud Slovaks living in there. And the reason I'm telling you that is that when I was deciding where to start my business and how to do it back in 2015, I had a big dilemma. I was like, okay, do I want to do it on the Slovak market with 5 million people speaking the Slovak language, which is only spoken in Slovakia, so you cannot use the same products anywhere else, just on the Slovak market? Or do I want to go out there on the big market, you know, the American market, and sell to the masses who are happy to buy? I mean, the average salary in Slovakia is 1,000 euros as of last year. Okay, so you can kind of have an idea of what I was deciding between. And it was a great dilemma for me. And I decided to go for Slovakia first and then branch out later on. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions in my business. That's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to tell you why starting locally might be quite interesting, even if you did not think about it before, and also why it might be a good idea to start working offline first, develop your products, and then turn them into online products. And I'm going to be speaking especially about expert business, which means that you give information, or info business, as it's also called. You give some type of information to people who want that information, that know-how from you, and are happy to pay for that. And I'm wondering, how many of you are from a country which is not English speaking natively? So raise your hands. It's quite a big part of the audience, okay? So this will be, I think, very relevant for all of you who are thinking about starting a business, and even for those of you who already have a business, but maybe haven't thought about using their local market and trying, you know, to do a side hustle, maybe, with the local market, because it might be more interesting than you originally thought. So, a quick background story about me. I do not have the typical digital nomad story, like I had a 9-to-5 job and I hated it, so I decided to, you know, go for freedom. I was actually pretty free in my job because I was a freelance interpreter, and I love this job. It's a great job. I got to go to really amazing events, such as this one in the picture. I am interpreting in one room of 8,000 people who all came there to listen to one person. And that is none other than Tony Robbins. So I did not only not have to pay to go to this event, and I'm talking about 500 euro tickets way in the back of the room, okay? I also got paid to be there. Like, how cool is that, right? And on top of that, the best experience of that all is after the event, Tony Robbins walks into our booth in person. Well, first his bodyguard and then him. And he shakes our hand, you know, and he goes to each of these 9 interpreters and he says, "Thank you guys, you did a great job. I could never do this without you. I appreciate your work." And I felt like, oh my God, this cannot get any better, right? So I had a great job satisfaction in this job. I was not desperate to get out of it. But, now we get to the but part. You know, I could take 4 months of holidays if I really wanted to. I mean, I'm a freelancer, so I decide when I work and when I don't work. But I'm not going to be paid in those 4 months, right? So in the rest of the year, I need to make sure I have enough interpreting jobs in order to cover the 4 months I want to take holiday. And this was not a lifestyle I was willing to live in my life. I really wanted to find a job in which I can be paid for my skills, my know-how, and not for the time that I spend working. And being an interpreter is one of the jobs where you can interpret a lot and earn a lot, but it depends on the number of hours and the number of working days that you spend working. So I had this idea, I had this dream that I really love my job, but at the same time I want to be even more free, to travel the world and just do something more with my life and not just spend a lot of time working. Now, one thing you should know about me is that I grew up in Slovakia, which is a very monolingual place. We all speak Slovak, and I did not hear any other language before I was 11, because that's when I started learning English at school, the usual way. And then I learned German when I was in high school, when I was 15, and by the age of 18, I was just able to speak these two languages. But then I realized it's actually quite fun to learn languages, and so I started adding a few more. And every 2 years, I would learn a new language to a fluent level, which enables me to read a book in the language, speak to people normally, and just use the language, for communication purposes. And I need to clarify 5 things, because you're probably asking them in your head right now. So this one, no, it doesn't work. So the last one, that's Swahili. That's spoken in Kenya and Tanzania. That's what I'm learning right now. The one in the middle, that's the Slovak sign language. The third thing I need to clarify is that the green flag, anybody knows? That's Esperanto. That's a language which is not spoken in any country, but it's spoken in the community of people who have learned Esperanto. The fourth thing is, no, I'm not crazy. And fifth, yes, I do have a life, okay? I never spend more than 1 hour a day learning a language, and I only learn one language at a time. And if you do this regularly, then in 18 years, you can gather 9 languages easily. It's not due to any special talent. It's not due to being special in any way. It's just basically learning, spending time with the language in a fun way, in ways which you enjoy. So I need to tell you this about my life, because if I tell you, okay, so I was thinking what I could offer the world, what I could be an expert in, and have a online business with, you might tell me, well, isn't that obvious? Like, come on, Lydia, like you're the expert to learn languages, so of course you should teach others how to learn languages, right? That's so obvious. Well, it wasn't for me. The thing is, who is an expert really? What makes an expert? These people you see in the picture are 540 polyglots that came to an event which I organized in Bratislava, and on average, they speak 6 languages. When I say on average, I can show you guys in this picture who speak 15, 20, 30, and I kid you not, 50 languages. So when I was thinking who should be the expert to tell the world how to learn languages, I was comparing myself to these guys, and I was like, well, I'm not good enough. I don't speak enough languages. I haven't read enough books about languages. I don't have education in language teaching. I studied to be an interpreter, but not how to teach languages. So who am I to teach the world, right? And one guy changed this mindset with me. And that's this guy. Anybody recognizes him? Very good. Brian Tracy, author of Eat the Frog, which you might have heard about, many other books, great books, by the way. And I interpreted his seminar, and I remember the moment when he was talking to an audience like you, and he said, you guys often hesitate about sharing your know-how with the world because you don't feel good enough. Well, let me help you a little bit. I'm taking out my magic wand, and I am turning you into experts in your fields. Go out there and charge for your know-how, because you're already better than so many people around you, and you can help them. And I remember that moment. I was sitting in the booth way in the back interpreting, and for a second I stopped, because this had a huge impact on me. And by the way, that's something that professional interpreters should not do. You should just keep interpreting. So I don't recommend doing that. But it really had a huge impact on me, because I was like, yes, this is about me. I am an expert. Like I know so much more about language learning than most other people. I don't need to be the best in the world. I don't need to go through 6 more courses and study it at a university. And no one will ever pat me on my shoulder and tell me, okay, now you're an expert. Now you can start teaching that. I need to, first of all, start with the mindset that I am an expert. I am good at what I do. I know how I learn languages. And now I just need to make sure that I find a way how to tell others how to do it and to help them with that. And that's exactly what I did. And so I created my own profession. I am a language mentor, And if you've never heard about it, it's because I made it up. And basically it means I'm not going to teach anyone a language. I teach people how they can learn a language by themselves. So I help people learn Thai, Korean, whatever language you think. I don't speak those languages, but I don't need to, because I give people the know-how behind how to learn any language, and it works for any language, basically. So this is how I decided that I'm an expert in language learning, and I'm going to figure out how to help others. Now, the way how I started is I first did an experiment with friends. So I knew how I learn languages, but honestly, I did not know how others could do it, and I wasn't even quite sure if it works for other people the way I learn. So I gathered 5 friends who were interested in improving their English, German, Spanish, French, whatever language, and I gathered them in my living room, and I gave them my complete know-how in 3 hours. And I mean like everything, you know. I told them, oh, there's this cool app that you can use to learn. Oh, by the way, for French, I use that. That's really cool. And oh, there is this method, the Gold List method to learn vocabulary. And oh, and you should watch series too. And I just kept going. And I was so proud of myself because I gave them everything. And at the end of those 3 hours, they felt like this. They were devastated. They were like, so Lýdia, so what do we do? I said, what do you mean, what do you do? I've just told you so many ways, you know? I've just told you so many possibilities. I mean, just go for it. They were totally lost because I did not have any system in telling them this know-how. And this is when I understood, okay, I probably need to slice it up a little bit and tell them things piece by piece. And I need to have my audience be able to process that information. I cannot just, you know, tell them everything. So this was a very useful lesson. So then I did another experiment, and I went for university students, 100 of them. I gathered them in one room. These were students studying to be translators, interpreters, and teachers, so studying languages. And I told them, hey guys, look, this university is not really going to teach you that language. And you could see the people in the first grade going like, what? What do you mean? And the people in the more advanced classes like, yeah, totally. So I said, guys, I mean, it's so easy. You just need to work on the languages yourselves. Let's do it in a fun way, you know. Let's learn together in our free time, not because you have to, not because you have a test, but because you want to. And they got really excited about that. And so I started meeting them week by week and helping them learn languages. And this turned out to be my first product. But I did it all for free. For me, it was a testing group. I did not charge them anything. I just asked them at the beginning one thing. Guys, at the end of these 2 months that I'm going to spend with you for free, I just want your testimonial, nothing else. And that turned out to be really, really useful. I called a professional video guy to our last meeting, and they said on camera, you know, how much they've improved. I even had teachers from other departments come to our meeting and said like, wow, the guys have really improved. How did you do that? And I said, I don't know. I just told them, you know, they should learn and make it fun. And that's actually what it takes. That's the whole secret, by the way. So this was my first product, not paid yet, and we're talking about 4 months working with my friends, 2 months working with my students, and then I finally created my first product, and it was an offline thing. It was a seminar for the public. I went to a local co-working place in Bratislava, and I offered them, I'm going to do a seminar. So they advertised it on their social media, and this is how I got my first clients. And I sold out the first one, 20 people. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy. And I made 1,200 euros on that first seminar. And I was like, wow, this is cool, you know? People are paying me to share know-how with them. I feel passionate about it. I love it. You know, I want to share it with the world. This is pretty cool. Let's continue. And so I continued with more seminars, and I kept improving my presentation from one seminar to another. I'll tell you a bit more about it in a second. And when I felt ready, it was my 10th live seminar, I felt like, okay, now I can conserve this because I can be happy with the quality of this product. And I called a professional video guy to record it all on camera, edit it for me, and this has brought me to have online courses. And this is now the basis of my business, and I only do it online. I don't do any offline events anymore because this is so much more fun. You know, this is where the real fun begins. So I have online courses which are about 5 to 7 hours long. I give people the complete know-how on how to learn a language, either as a beginner or in more advanced levels. And 2 years later, so I started this in 2016, 2 years later, I turned it into English products, which are basically just translations of the Slovak products that I've used for thousands of people in Slovakia. And now I offer this to the English-speaking market as well. And this is my business story. And now I want to, one more thing, yes. So just to give you a complete view of my products, I just need to say that afterwards I realized that people buy the video course, the know-how, but they don't really even, some of them don't even look there. And I felt like, hey guys, do you really pay 200 euros for something and you don't even watch it? Like, why did you buy it? And I really wanted them to watch it because I knew that if they apply it, it will help them. So then I created a product which is like a 2-month course where I work with the people and I just grab them by the hand and I tell them, okay, now you do this, your task this week, I want to know how you did. And we check on them. This accountability turns out to be extremely useful because that's when people really have results. So, and this is a great product from business perspective because these people can turn into recurring clients. So they have my know-how and then they take a 2-month course and they love it, so they take another 2-month course, and we are developing these products further so that I can offer my clients something more, because I realized something that many of my business mentors told me before, that it's so much easier to sell to an existing client than getting a new one, and it's absolutely true. So from a business perspective, but also from the perspective of helping these people really, I develop new products now which help them step by step. Now, I want to share 10 very particular things with you. 5 things about why working or starting on a small local market might be interesting, and then why doing an offline product might be interesting for you. So first reason, it really is easier to become a big fish in a small pond. This is my first interview that people ever did about me speaking languages. It was in a local newspaper in my hometown. I come from a very small hometown, Partizánske, with 10,000 people. So it's rather small. When they published this in the local newspaper, I became the local celebrity. People recognized me in the street. They're, oh, you're the girl with the languages. That's so cool, And soon enough, other media started to notice me and do interviews with me. And soon enough, I appeared in most bigger Slovak media. Is there anybody from Slovakia, by the way? Thought so, yeah. Anyway, so this doesn't mean anything to you. It's like, yeah, what are these logos? But you show it to an average Slovak and they go like, oh my God, you've been everywhere. These are the biggest media, biggest TV, biggest radio, etc. So this media did a great service for me because they did free remarketing. Remarketing means that you show your product or ad to someone who has already visited your website or knows about you, so your webinar, etc. And these media did the job for me. I didn't have to pay for that. So if someone read an article about me in a newspaper and then they saw me on a morning TV show, it's like, wow, she's everywhere, like she's huge. So I better check out her website. And this is how I got a lot of clients because of using local media. And I don't think this is easy to do if you are out there in the English-speaking world. I think it's so much easier working on a smaller market where the media have a large influence on these people and it's easier to get to them. I realized that it's not so difficult to get to the media. Like, I never really actively approached them, but I realized that I can give them a great value because these reporters, they need to fill the pages. They need to fill the minutes on the radio and they want interesting content. So I was listening very attentively to what the reporters were asking, and I learned what I need to give them in order for them to be happy and for people to be interested in that. So it was like copywriting, but working with media. The second reason why a small market may be interesting is that you know your target group so well. When I talk to my audience in Slovakia, I can tell them exactly what teachers they had, how many years of German they had at school, why they still hate German, nevertheless. It's just, I know these things, it's these little cultural things. I know what books they use. I know what grammar issues they struggle with. I can address it very particularly. To be honest with you, with my international business now, I have no clue. I have clients from Canada, Russia, Australia, Trinidad and Tobago. I have no clue what these people went through. I don't know what languages, what the language situation is. So it's a lot more difficult for me to speak directly about their issues. That's why the local market is easier. Third thing, business perspective. Facebook ads are so much cheaper on smaller markets. Now, I don't want to make anyone jealous, but if I tell you guys that for one of my webinar funnels, I got people for 7 euro cents, leads very relevant leads, people very interested in my product, very much my target group. And when you sell a 200 euro product, you don't need a super huge conversion to be profitable. So thank you, Facebook, for not being so huge in Slovakia yet. This is very, very useful. Fourth thing, competition is a lot smaller. So let me show you the results on Google. If you put in ako sa naučiť jazyk, which means how to learn a language, as a phrase, you end up with 11,000 results on Google. If you do that in English, you get 11 million results. Now that's a difference, right? If you want to keep a blog or give people information about this topic, it's so much better to compete with 11,000 pages than 11 million pages, right? So this is another advantage of a small market. And finally, when I entered the international market, I was not a no one anymore. So I just basically translated the testimonials that I had from my Slovak students, Slovak clients, and I could enter the Slovak market saying, hey, look, guys, I've helped thousands of people in Slovakia. They're real people, this is who they are, this is how it works for them, and now I can help you too. So it was not starting from zero, and this was a huge, huge advantage, and it enabled me to have a 5-figure launch webinar when entering the international market. So now 5 more lessons about why offline might be interesting and maybe even better than going online right away. The first lesson is direct feedback. When you talk to your clients and you are learning what they need to learn. I'll give you an example. I was in one of my first seminars and I wanted to give people tips on how to improve their listening comprehension, how to learn to understand the language well. And so I was talking about podcasts, like, okay, so this is cool, you can listen to podcasts and this is where you find them and this is how you should listen to them, etc. And then I just moved on to watching TV series, which by the way is my favorite method to learn languages. And I spent about 2 sentences on this. It was a 2-sentence tip for me. I said, okay, guys, and another thing you can do is watch TV series. It's really cool. You need to start watching a series. You just go every day, 1 episode a day. Don't worry if you don't understand everything at the beginning. It will get better. And it's really awesome. Find a series you like, go for it. And I wanted to move on to something else. And then someone raised their hand and said, well, Lýdia, I have a question. Is it okay if I watch the series with Slovak subtitles? And I was like, are you kidding me? Of course not. Isn't that obvious? You need to have either English subtitles if you're learning English or no subtitles at all so that your brain does not concentrate on the Slovak text because then, it opts for the easier way out and it doesn't really listen to the input and you're not learning anything, you're not improving your comprehension. And I thought that was obvious. And I saw all of them writing this down like, oh, okay. I was like, really? I mean, is this what interests you? And then another seminar, another question was like, okay, and how do I watch it? So how do I cope with the fact that I don't understand every day? And where do I find the series? And, all these questions, I was like, oh, okay. And I kept, because of this direct feedback I had in the seminars, live, not online, live, I kept on finding out what people want to know. And today, I have a 46-page ebook on how to watch TV series and learn a language. And I swear, if you had told me this 2 years ago, I would have never told you, no, that's impossible. Like, what can you write on 46 pages? It turns out quite a lot, and now I want to redo it, and actually I have so many new ideas what to add to this topic, because it's a very popular method. People love it. It's very effective, but of course you need to do it right. So this is just incredible how the direct feedback can help you actually create your product. The second reason of why offline might be more interesting is building up a team. And this is my team, my 6 amazing girls, who, by the way, 3 of them are from the group of 100 students, and the other 3 are some of my best clients. And all of these girls offered to help me for free at the beginning because they really loved my product and my idea, and they wanted to be, have more of it. So we exchanged, like they went to other courses and helped me with some stuff. I found out that they're really amazing at so many things. They're happy to learn. So they're even good at graphic design and stuff like that you would not expect at the beginning. And so we are now a team and we do these things together. And it's so much more fun for me than working by myself. And it's a lot easier to build our team and our team spirit offline than online. Don't get me wrong, we don't have an office or something. We're all digital nomads. We're living in 3 different places in Slovakia, but we like to meet because Slovakia is rather small. So we like to meet up, go hiking or do some team building activities together, do a brainstorming and think about how we can help our clients more. And it just, I personally have a great satisfaction from this. Maybe it's something, that women love more than men, but for me, building this team, this is my new challenge and this is my new love in the whole business perspective. So that's what I love to do, and it would not be as easy if I had only virtual assistants. A third advantage of working offline is that it's really easy at the beginning. So you're starting, you don't have a database, you don't have Facebook likes. Who will buy your products? Well, what I did is I went to this co-working space and I told them I want to do a seminar, thought of a nice name for it and a nice description, and they put it on their social media. So they already had a target audience for me, and I just entered it and advertised for free. I didn't have to pay for that because they were organizing that in their premises. And this turned out to be a really good solution, because who do you sell to at the beginning when you're no one, when no one knows about you? And the first seminar got sold out, and that's because I used the existing network of that co-working space. And the co-working space I saw was liked by people who are very much my target group. I mean, intellectually, financially, with their hobbies, interests, because I need to talk to people who understand that they will have to work. It's not like, oh, I want the magical solution. You're not my target group if you want that. I want people who say, okay, Lýdia, I'm ready to work on my language. Tell me how, and I'm going to put in the work. So the co-working center turned out to be a great choice. A fourth reason is that I think for many people, it might be easier to speak in front of people than to a camera. This may not apply to everyone, but I think maybe not public speaking. Okay, I know many people are afraid of public speaking to a larger audience. But if you gather a small group of people, like 5, 7, and you try and you gain confidence speaking about your product and giving tips to people, I think this can help you a lot more than turning the camera in front of you, and it feels a bit awkward at the beginning, I think. It just, you're speaking to no one really, there's this little light. And it's, I personally think it's easier to speak to people at first, and then when you have the confidence, then put it online. And finally, the final reason, my clients are not anonymous people for me, and that is super important to me personally. I am not interested in the numbers. I don't want to, read my statistics and say like, oh, okay, 6 people bought my course today, cool. I want to know who these people are. I want to know how much I've impacted their life. And that's why I do a lot of offline meetings, but I don't do like paid products. I just do it as a bonus. So I have these online courses for 50 people, and I always offer at least one meetup in Bratislava live with them, because I want to meet them. I want to get to know them. I did a Christmas party for them. We prepared mulled wine for them, like wine with spices, something very typical in Slovakia. And we connect as a team, we connect to our people, and it's very important to us. And for example, the picture on the left, that's our meeting with mothers on maternity leave. I did one course for them. And some of them came with children, and one mom came with 6 children. And, I got to know her whole family, and they were all like, oh, Lýdia, the girl from the TV. That was so sweet, because she watched my video course, and they, they felt like I'm the girl from the TV. So it was really sweet. And I'll tell you honestly, this is something that gives meaning to my work. It's something that for many of you might not be as important, but for me personally, I have such great satisfaction from this, that meeting these people, know how I've helped them. Some of them tell me in person, they would never write it in an email, but they tell me, Lýdia, like, you've changed my life. Like, I was afraid to travel for 20 years because I only speak Slovak. Like, it's so different for people with a small language, right? You go out there to the airport and you don't understand anything. You're lost. You're very limited. So you open up the gates, to the world to me. And this means a lot to me, to meet them and just be with these people. So this is the reason why I would gladly do this job even for free. But, of course, it's great if I get paid for that as well. So these are the 10 lessons that I learned from starting on an offline local market first. And I hope that some of them may be applicable to you. I know that some people who heard this talk in my rehearsal said, like, that's interesting. I have an international business. I never thought about actually going local. So I'm hoping to have inspired some of you. Just a brief summary. You can become a bigger fish in a smaller pond. You know your target group very well because you grew up with these people and you know their background. You get cheaper Facebook ads, so business-wise, it's easier. The competition is smaller. You don't compete with a huge market, but with the smaller players, or maybe you're the only player in your niche, if you find that. You get testimonials from these people, which you can easily translate into English and then branch out to other languages. You get very direct feedback, so people tell you what they're interested in, and you can adapt your product very quickly and develop it to the best product available for them because you are addressing their issues. You can build up a team in an offline, live way, which I personally love. Your first audience can be in those existing communities like co-working spaces, etc. So you can even test your idea before you go full speed into your online business. Maybe you can test it. Make a seminar. If you do it 3 times and no one signed up, then probably that's not the best niche. Maybe you should rethink it, right? And maybe position the topic differently. So I think it's wonderful to test your ideas with an offline audience. You can speak first to people, then to a camera, and your clients will not be anonymous and if you want some job satisfaction from that as well. And before I finish, there's one more lesson I want to share with you guys because I always love to mention this whenever I talk about business. I think it's so important and it's such a great piece of advice. Get a business mentor. It really, really is priceless and it can totally change the way you do your business and the way you achieve results. This is Eric. He's a Slovak marketer. He does info business, so he teaches people how to do marketing. And I looked for my business mentor very intentionally. I started going to entrepreneurial meetings in Bratislava, and I was looking for someone to help me. I really wanted a mentor, a person that I can ask all my questions to. Because I was, when I decided to start my business, I did not know anything. People told me like, oh, are you running a WordPress site? And I was like, a word what? I had no clue, honestly. I did not know how to create a website, how to do email marketing, how to do webinars, what's funnels. I mean, what are funnels, right? I did not know a thing, and I started learning a lot. And when you get into this, it's crazy because it's too much information, and you don't know how to process it. So Eric was the person who helped me so much in that. We did an exchange. I never paid him for his advice because he turns out to be a person who wanted to go on the American market, but he was lacking English skills. So we did a wonderful exchange where we talked in English about my business, which was great for him. Of course, I helped him in other ways as well with his English and to set up a system to learn. And, great barter where both of us benefited greatly. But what helped me most with Eric is not just telling me, which apps I should use, because I was like, okay, WordPress, what theme should I use? And he was like, go for this one. And it's done, you don't need to spend weeks thinking about, is it better, is it like, go for this one, it's a good one, I used it, I can tell you how to use it, great. Legal advice, like, okay, even telling me context like, oh, this guy is good with, let's say, accounting, etc. So someone on your local market or at least doing something similar is really, really useful. But what helped me most, having a business mentor, is changing my mindset. Because, you see, at the beginning, I did not have any friends who are entrepreneurs. So I did not, I asked people tips and advice, and they were very glad to give it to me. But their advice was something like this. If you have a good product, Lydia, you don't need to do any marketing. The product will sell itself. And it's such a nonsense, right? I understood, thanks to my business mentor and learning a lot, that marketing is the #1 skill you have to learn if you want to have any impact and sell your know-how. It doesn't ever work without it. And then in Slovakia, a country with let's say, a bit of a small town or even a communist mentality, they will make you believe that selling is evil. If you want to help people so much, why don't you give your products for free, right? And the truth is, I did this to my friends who asked me for my product. I did send them the login because it doesn't cost me anything. I'm happy to do that. But actually, I did them a great disservice. Because these people are the ones who never opened the video course. They never applied the things in practice, and they don't speak another language today. Because they didn't value my know-how and the information. They did not sacrifice anything to get it. And if someone spends, 200 euros on a product which will help them achieve that, and the product is meant for them to work on it, well, then they'd better start working, and that's when they can achieve results. So giving stuff for free to people does not work, and you're not helping anyone. And I really believe that I have a moral obligation to sell my products and not to sell them short, because this is how I can help people best. Or finally, just one last example. I thought I need a blog at the beginning. I wanted to copy the best people in my niche and do the business model that they did. So I was willing to spend 2 years building a blog, whereas I hate writing blog posts. And Eric told me, no, Lydia, you don't need a blog for that. All you need is a few pages. You need homepage, about page, free content pages to get email addresses. You need a sales page, thank you page, error page. Go. And I did it, and my website was profitable from the first week it was on. I did not need to build expertise building a blog. And so having a business mentor really saved me years of time and probably thousands of euros, a lot of trials and errors. And that's why I totally recommend to you to find a business mentor and to have all your questions answered. So if you guys want to get in touch, languagementoring.com is my website. Feel free to follow me on social media. And if you want a very concise version of my know-how, then feel free to watch my TED Talk, which I'm happy to say was released 3 weeks ago and hit 1 million views in the first 5 days. So if you thank you. And thanks for listening. Do we have time for questions?
Yes,
Good.
we do.
Great.
So everyone put a round of applause for Lýdia.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Lýdia. Right, questions. I'm going to go here first.
So as a parent, I was just wondering, aside from the obvious benefits of like learning a language, opening up your world, do you know of any other benefits of that for children or something like that, you know, where it just basically makes you smarter or something like that?
It does, for sure. Learning languages is awesome. Like, it helps you